August 5th, 2020, Anthony, and I got to tell you, I'm out of my studio because it's been storming up here in the Northeast.
Well, let's storm in. Good show. Let's act
Let's make it happen. All right, so great to see you today, Anthony. And I got to tell you, boy, oh boy, what craziness it has been the last 24 hours. Right after the show yesterday, you recall, I said, hey, it looks like the storm was starting. Boy, did it brew. We had so many problems yesterday, so many things going on. I couldn't believe it. The trees were down, the power's out. So we're seeking refuge today at my mom's condo on Long Island today.
So today, your living room looks a little bit different, my brother.
Well, this is actually my mom's condo here. She's in one of the over a certain age communities type of thing, and they allowed me in. And so we're hoping
I would have loved for you to tell your mother's age and then see just a hand slap you in the back of the head.
Right.
Well, you know what? I want to do something. I want to mention something.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday, you may have received one too. I received my travel mate from Kimberly. She wrote me a nice note. She sent some to you too.
Yep.
And Kimberly from Cornerstone Hospitality. She sent a antimicrobial self-cleaning travel mat. So when you have your toothbrush or your shaving kit out, they put this down on the sink, and you feel safe to put your comb, which I don't need, or your toothbrush down. So thank you so much. And let's bring it back on.
I love that. I actually have been communicating with her behind the scenes, and we are going to get her on. I haven't had a chance to respond to that because of the big power outage. Kimberly, if you're listening, we did get a box from you yesterday. I just haven't had a chance to open it. We were too busy dodging giant trees falling in the yard yesterday. But I promise I will get to that. So, Anthony, you looks like you skirted the storm this time, which is a blessing for you guys.
Well, our lights went on and off constantly all day yesterday. A big canopy went into the pool that I talked about yesterday.
Yep.
I just spent 2 hours this morning after my workout, cleaned up my entire yard. But all good. Everybody's safe, thank God. Our power's on, and now I'm ready for an exciting show with my friend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. All right, guys. Well, let's get into it. We got with us today Mr. Jay Roberts. He's the co-founder and CEO of Domio. You may know them as a serviced apartment companies, and it's a big trend that I've been talking about. You know it now. I keep telling you all the time. 3-4 years I've been talking about this trend because I think it's significant. I think it's important. And I know, Jay, you wouldn't have co-founded this company if you thought this was just going to be a fly-the-night kind of idea, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, they got their name from me because my wife calls me Dopio. So they got Domio.
My wife just calls me Dom.
So, Jay, tell everybody about your company, your background, and let's talk about what's happening now with the transition of people from the hospitality industry coming over to maybe your neck of the woods. So talk through your company, how many buildings you have, and kind of what your history is.
Perfect. Yeah. So Anthony and Glenn, thanks for having me on. We actually just had our fourth birthday. So Domio is 4 officially on August 1st. And my background before starting the company, I was in the real estate investment banking group at Bank of America Merrill Lynch, doing global M&A, IPOs, and capital markets transactions. There worked on the MGM Growth Properties IPO, did M&A work for Starwood Capital, led financings for Extended Stay, Avalon Bay. So really boring finance work. Before that, I was in business school at NYU. I got a scholarship to study finance and real estate.
Wow.
Lived in New York for 7 years until COVID hit, and I just recently moved to Miami. And prior to that, I was in real estate multifamily investment sales for over a decade. And Domio was really born out of the desire and the need to create a professional, consistent experience in the service department, and I call it the Airbnb space. So in 2015, I had just graduated business school at NYU. In business school, you go to a little bit of class, you do a lot of recruiting to get an internship and then a job. And once you lock that down, you do a lot of traveling. So I traveled to over 20 countries.
Wow.
And I stayed in some good Airbnbs, and I stayed in some pretty crappy Airbnbs. And so that got the wheels spinning. And when I graduated and I started working at the investment bank in New York, I lived in Midtown Manhattan on 47th Street near Times Square, actually half a block from where the Edition had opened, and now we know it's closed, the Edition Times Square. And I started Airbnb-ing my room out in 2015. And guys, I was amazed at how many people from all over the world would book my room. And I'd go to sleep and wake up and I'd check my phone and I'd get bookings, and I was making money in my sleep. And it was a beautiful thing. And so being a finance and real estate nerd, I said, how can I do more of this? And I did some research on why people were booking my place. I saw this new platform, this new technology called Airbnb, which, as we know, that was sort of a really nuisance to the hotel industry for a number of years. We'll talk a little bit more about how the hotel hospitality industry is now starting to embrace the apartment hotel and home sharing industry.
Right.
But where I lived, guys, on 47th Street, basically I lived near Times Square, and not places that any of us would want to.
47th and what? 47th and what?
That's a big difference. Yeah.
47th in between 6th and 7th.
Wow.
Right, that's not a bad place to live. I was asset manager for Tishman at Westin Hotel.
Yep.
And I was there when they started developing the Intercontinental Hotel, so I know that area very, 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 very well. But let's back up before we go into kind of the business of of what you do. Tell people how important it is when you start a company like this. Like, I'm an operations guy, I'm an asset manager, but I'm not really a finance guy. I'm learning finance, and I'm in all kinds of deals, but I'm listening to guys like you and writing notes. I'm getting an education. Tell the importance of really understanding the finance behind the deal, because that's really where, if you want great service and you want great customer service and employees happy and everybody happy, it always starts with the deal. It always starts with the concrete. It always starts with, because if you finance it wrong, everybody's miserable. So talk a little bit about the importance of really understanding that.
Yeah, Anthony, that's a great question and great point. So having an investment banking background has given us an advantage, Domio an advantage, in that the company had a sound business model, was built off sound economics and fundamentals. So when you're starting a company, you have a vision, you have a passion, you want to solve a problem that people have globally, but you also need to make sure that you will have an enduring and sustainable business model. So the numbers absolutely are critical to the success of a deal, a real estate deal, a hotel deal. And I'll share with you in just a bit. The numbers were very attractive, and which is what really drew me in addition to solving a problem for millions of travelers around the world.
So now talk about the difference between what you do in a hotel.
Yeah. So how we got started, how I got started was really Airbnb and people looking for more space. So I went and leased another 2-bedroom on 48th Street in 2015. And guys, here's the numbers. The rent was $3,400 a month.
Right.
And I made $10,500 in revenue in the first month. So over 50% profit margins, and
wow,
highly attractive. And so I started hosting people from all over the world. I had people from China, people from Australia, people from London, and they were staying in my space, in my furnished space. And what they loved about it was that it was more cost effective than a traditional hotel. And groups and families were coming to stay in my 2-bedroom. And what they said was that when you have kids and you're traveling,
right,
hey, it's tough to book a hotel room with connecting doors. You can't really do that on the website.
And they won't guarantee it either when you check in.
Right. That's exactly right.
We can back up, but not to bring up a bad subject, but was it legal to do that?
Yes, exactly. So it
2015, it sure was.
There's something called the Class A multiple dwelling law. And so Airbnb by itself is not illegal. Renting out a full unit is illegal. So what I did is I rented out rooms with people living in the space.
What the hell does that mean?
So in New York, if you live in the space or you have someone that's a permanent resident, you can rent out for under 30 days.
So you lived in the space with the people?
Or would you vacate?
I did, and we had permanent tenants. So I was a host, and I had other people who were hosts.
Great.
Fascinating. All right. So obviously this triggered a thought with you. Hey, if people are going to want to stay like this, maybe there's a deeper business to be had. And I'm sure you recognize that there was other companies that were in the market already. In particular, for a guy coming from the financial real estate side, you're probably very familiar with the service apartment business because a lot of people stay in those when they're engaged in the financial industry, when they're traveling. So how did the whole thing coalesce for you? How did it come together? How did you say, I'm going to turn this into something where I'm just renting out a unit or two into an entire company where now you have multiple buildings in multiple cities?
Yeah, great question, Glenn. So the first apartment that I rented out on 48th Street, I actually raised a little bit of money. The numbers were so attractive and so juicy that my friends wanted to invest with me. Mm-hmm. So I set up the first property on 48th Street. It was very successful. Was 100% occupied most months, and it was a nice side business while I worked at the investment bank.
Yeah, no doubt.
How many units was it, Jay? How many units was it?
It was one, and then I added a second in 2016 on 54th Street. That one, the rent was $2,500 a month, and I made $8,000 a month.
Damn.
And we could change people's sheets, and it was great income while I was working at the bank. But what was more interesting, guys, is that the travelers said we're looking for consistency. And Jay, this is exactly what you said it was going to be. By this point on Airbnb, I was a super host. Mm-hmm. And so many travelers, so many customers said consistency is key. And really at that time, and still today, staying in an Airbnb can be a wild card experience. You don't know what you're going to get. There's 99% of the hosts worldwide are amateurs. And so really the goal was to provide a consistent branded experience. And so what drew me, and really where I was driven and pushed to build a brand in a company and to launch Domio, was really this vision to build the next Hilton, the next Marriott in the Airbnb space.
Right. Well, that makes a whole lot of sense. And there are a lot of great companies already into that space because they understand the desire for it. I love what you said about the amateur thing. I've talked about how I've stayed in those types of properties with other companies that are in this sector. And the only way I will stay in one of these properties and follow this model is that they're only for customers. There's nobody living there. There's nobody vacating the premises, so I can stay there.
Pizza box in the fridge. You don't want to see their dirty laundry in the closet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was in an apartment once on a trip. The last time I stayed in one of those, and I'm looking up. I'm in like the daughter's bedroom, looking up at stars on the ceiling, and the whole thing was just really too weird for me with the glow in the dark stars and all of that kind of stuff. So, Anthony.
I've never stayed at one, and I'd have to probably stay at Domio because I want consistency. I can't waste time. Usually when we're on the road, especially when I'm traveling a lot, I have 0 seconds to waste. So I can't, like, if I have to spend 1 minute looking for a charger outlet, I'm gonna be very upset. So how many units do you have? And tell me about the standardization of Domio.
Right. And let me add to that. Do you get whole buildings? How does the structure of that work? Because some companies rent units within buildings while other companies get entire buildings while other companies buy the whole building. How does yours work?
Yeah. So we have 1,000 units and we have 15 buildings in the pipeline. And we just hired Brian Quinn to be our Chief Development Officer and to really.
And for those folks who don't know who Brian Quinn is, where have you been? Brian Quinn is one of the top franchise hotel sales guys in the business, and it must have been very attractive for him to come on over to you guys. So please continue.
Yeah, so guys, in the early days, I leased these individual apartments, and then we started leasing small full buildings and then floors. And as we started building the Domio brand, we signed a deal, a full building in New Orleans, and it's 58 units, rooftop pool, gym, lobby. And we opened this property, and within 6 months, it went from being ranked last on TripAdvisor, ranked 171 out of 171 hotels in New Orleans, to the #1 ranked property on all of TripAdvisor. And
Holy
so,
cow.
But what was the difference in rate before we go forward? I want to break this down. What was the difference in rate on a given night, on any given night between you and say a 3.5, 4-star hotel?
we average 25 to 35% below traditional hotels for the same amount of people. So,
And how much more space?
Yeah, how much more space?
Yeah.
1.5 to 4 times more space.
Okay, and then on those busy nights when you know that there's compression, are you meeting the hotel rates, or are you always staying 25 to 30% lower?
We are pricing accordingly to maximize.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. What's the difference between you and the hotel? Is it just the size? Because listen, at the end of the day, if you have a whole building and you're in an A location and I can get $400 a night, you're going to get $400 a night, maybe even more because you're a bigger space. So what is the difference between you and a hotel? It seems like it's kind of becoming a hotel. It seems like, yes, we talked about this a while ago, and I talked about it in the keynote speech probably 2-3 years ago, that you're going to see Airbnb looking a lot like a hotel.
Yep.
And more hotels looking like Airbnbs over time.
This
too,
is
right?
I don't really agree with that. I don't think there's, outside of maybe Citizen M and maybe a couple of other brands and maybe the really high end hotels, I don't agree with that. I think all the hotels today look friggin' the same, and I think that's the biggest problem. So how do you stay differentiated from a hotel?
This is the year, guys, that I said that short-term rentals graduate from the short-term rental industry to the apartment hotel industry. And so hotels, I love hotels. I stay in them when I'm traveling by myself. There's a time and a place for them, but they're small. And if I'm traveling with a group, I'm traveling with a family, we want to connect. We want to stay together. We want to cook our own meals.
Yeah, but as you do that, more people are going to want hotel services because you're going to look like a hotel.
That's why, Anthony, that's why I think you're wrong, and why hotels are going to start to look more like these. You see the incredible growth of the extended stay business and how profitable it is. Those are so closely aligned right now. There's going to be incredible overlap with those.
No, I didn't. You can't say I'm wrong because I didn't say it won't look like a hotel. Apartment. I'm saying now a lot of these hotel chains are getting it wrong, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
In the future, I think you're great. So please apologize for embarrassing yourself.
I apologize to Jay.
Thank you. So we have kitchens. We have living rooms. People can cook their own meals, and as you know, in hotels, you have to order room service. It can be quite expensive, and with COVID, you don't know who's touching your food, and so that can be quite challenging.
Do we have a video? Do we have a website? We got
a website, but while we're bringing up the website, well, producer Jeff does that. Stephen Kirkish wants to know what's the differences and similarities between Domio and other companies like Sonder and Vector Travel. I've stayed at Sonder. I think they do a pretty nice job, but I haven't stayed with you. I'd be curious too to see, if you could compare and contrast those a little bit.
And to add, when you answer that question, also answer this question. Do you think your finance background gives you the competitive edge that the customer can't see?
I think so, and that how we've navigated COVID and Domio is still operating and still growing, and a number of the other peers have closed their doors. You asked about Sonder. Sonder, I think is a great company. We've all helped each other in the space to really institutionalize and build this out and provide a better experience for the customer. Vector Travel, I'm not as familiar with Vector Travel.
Nor am I. But Jay, Sonder, they lease on long-term entire buildings, where your model, you've moved to buildings in under particular circumstances, but it doesn't seem like renting whole buildings out on long-term leases is your overall strategy. It's one of the tools in your toolkit of strategy, right?
It's one of the tools, and it was necessary to grow and to control the building, the property, the consistency in a somewhat asset-light model. So our property in Wynwood, 175 units, 300 rooms, rooftop pool, ground level retail, is a full building. That's a leased property. At the end of 2019, having a finance background, seeing economic cycles, I saw what happened to WeWork. I saw what happened to Uber. Things were starting to get a little frothy in the market, and I said, to build a long-term enduring business, I really want to be asset light. And so in the beginning of 2020, I started leading the company through a transition from leasing to management, licensing, and franchising. And we really attracted and recruited, and we've been fortunate to hire industry veterans from the hotel industry: Jim Murhaugh, my CFO, Calvin Anderson, my Chief Commercial Officer, Brian Quinn, as we mentioned, my Chief Development Officer. So Domio's 100% of our focus today is licensing, management, licensing, and eventually franchising.
So what your exit strategy, everybody, you don't start a business unless you have an exit strategy. So which hotel brand's going to buy you?
That's a great question. Whoever pays the highest price.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait a few years until they have money again, but we'll get there. All right. Before we take,
let me back up for a second. We know these A markets, we're losing hotels, and we're going to lose more. In the next year, we're going to see some devastation that we never thought we would see in this industry. Huge convention hotels that are going to be turned into something else. Could be they're knocked down. Could be that you just stay vacant and it's just going to be terrible.
Jim from just said, and I was just listening to a podcast he was on with CBRE, and there's 20,000 hotel rooms in New York City that will never open their doors again.
Yeah, and we talked about that the other day on the podcast. And again, my partner here, Glenn, said I was wrong. But you just proved that I was right. I said at least 20.
I didn't say anything about the rooms closing. Our disagreement was over the number of hotels in the construction pipeline.
I said there's 20,000 to 30,000 hotel rooms that will never open.
There was too much supply. We know there was too much supply.
Right. And
absolutely.
That's because money was too cheap, and everybody got really excited, and it was over. Listen, and if you're always at your best, right? If every single day, if you're a weightlifter and you can deadlift 500 pounds every single day, then that's great. But eventually, you're not going to be able to deadlift 500 pounds every day because you're going to get tired. New York City is not going to get 62 million visitors every single year. So they were playing and they were developing to 62 million, 63, 64, 65 million visitors. We have to play to 51 to 58 million visitors. It's kind of the sweet spot of New York City, in my opinion. So we're over leveraged. So What do? Do you come in and take those rooms? What do you do, Jay? Tell me, Jay.
Can you even take them? Because you want kitchens.
I'm in Miami right now, so I was in New York City 2 weeks ago, and I lived near Columbus Circle. I walked from Central Park down to Tribeca on a Sunday, and there were hotels boarded up. There were stores, retail stores, restaurants boarded up. We don't want anything to do with New York at the moment. The experts that I talked to, other folks in the hospitality industry, were waiting and seeing. I'm currently in Miami. Domio has 3 properties here. We have Wynwood, we have Monte Carlo, which is on the beach, and we have Cayoba, which is downtown, and we're continuing to expand our presence in South Florida. Right. Our view and my thesis is that leisure travel resort markets will bounce back first. People are staying away from the big cities. The average length of stay is increasing. Ours is now over a week. And people who are booking direct are booking months at a time. So we are looking at opportunities. We have seen some distress, but we're staying away from the big urban markets, and we're focused on leisure and resort markets. And we're looking at the Caribbean, Mexico, and warm places with a nice beach.
All right, so I think it's time to show the viewers a little bit of what Domio is all about. So, Producer Jeff, if you could please bring that up. And while Jeff is doing that, Stacey, I know the question was for Anthony, but I love Faulty Towers, one of my favorite shows that John Cleese ever did. All right, so let's take a look here. So,
you didn't ask my opinion, Glenn.
Do you want to share what your opinion is?
I love that show.
Manuel. Whatever you do, don't talk about the Germans.
Where'd you come up with the name Domio?
We created the name. So when we first started the company, my co-founder and I, we had this really terrible name called City Share Living. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, people were actually sharing the apartments. And so we were sharing the city with you. And we had a logo. And then my co-founder, when he joined, he saw that same logo on the side of a construction site. And we said, that's time to change our logo and our name. And so we went through a whole naming and branding process. We hired some creatives. I'm personally not that creative, so we had other experts that helped us. But Domio is the combination of dome, which means home in Latin, and mio, which is my home. We created the name. It's a coined name, and that's where it came from.
Well, as a branding person and a marketing person and I'd like to think that logos and names are my forte. I'm going to give you a rating, and your rating is 10 out of 10. I think it's a perfect name. You're welcome. Now you can continue your company.
Thank you. Yes. Wow, that's great.
So where's your website? What happened to your website? There it goes. Let's see other pictures. I want to see pictures. I think we lost Glenn. Glenn, did we lose you? Jeff, are you there? Jeff's there. So show me another picture. Okay. What does a room look like? I want to see a room. Okay, there you go.
Beautifully designed spaces. We have a great design team.
Awesome.
Custom wallpapers, custom couches, pullouts for families, kids that are staying with us. But you guys would really love staying. I don't know if you guys have families. Love staying in our properties.
Wow,
I stay
3-bedroom.
with them all around.
Is that an invitation, Jay? Is that an invitation?
Yeah,
Okay,
the problem is he's doing so well. He may not be able to fit us, Anthony.
No, actually, we're lately, because both of us are grounded, we're looking to kind of take our show on the road. So we're going up to hopefully Saratoga. We're going to Atlantic City. So where's a spot where we can go where we don't have to come back and quarantine for 2 weeks?
Tulum.
Tulum?
Mexico. Tulum is where everyone wants to go. We're opening in October. It's a full residential community, 30 units, 60 rooms in a town called Aldea Sama.
Oh, cool.
It's really great. Private pools in each of the units.
Did you ever see the hotel with the Bird's Nest restaurant?
Azulik. Yes.
Yeah, I did a show from there.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a great property.
So we're going in October to Tulum to do the show.
So
no air conditioning there though, and no Wi-Fi in the rooms.
all right, so
we will not be
no
going.
Wi-Fi. We will not. We'll be
have
vacationing there though.
Wi-Fi.
All right. So Jay, why Tulum? I get Miami and Nashville and New Orleans, but Tulum? How's that work for you?
Have you been there?
No, that's why I'm asking. I'm genuinely
Gotta go.
don't understand.
Anthony, I'm sure he had an incredible.
Well, it's the only place on earth that I've been in caves around the world doing the show, and I was in a cave in Tulum, and the gentleman brought me through this entire cave, and at the end of the cave was basically what he called the swimming pool.
Right.
And it was no, I don't know if that's the swimming pool one. Is that? I'm not sure. But it was much bigger than that, and it was just insane. And Tulum itself is just, I mean, you just go there. Like, matter of fact, I mean that that all looks very familiar, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's just a place that you just go and you forget you exist on Earth. It's just a whole different place, and it's just really it's kind of away from everything. It's away from the hustle and bustle, and they do it right there. They really do. The only thing is, and I'll be honest with you, is unless I'm on the water, unless it's a nice breeze, I can't deal with heat. So I went to Francis Ford Coppola's Island in Belize.
That's cool.
And, nice hotel, loved it and everything. I will never, ever in the history of the world go back to that hotel because I had to take 7 showers a day, literally 7 showers a day.
Yeah.
My director literally slept in the shower and just turned on the shower every hour. The heat there is just too intense. So what do you do to cool people off? Because, I mean, it's great and I would love to go, but no air conditioning. What do I do, man?
Well, Azulik had no air conditioning. Domio Tulum, Domio Casa Libre will have air conditioning, and you'll have a private pool in your own unit, so you can.
Okay, so are we invited for the opening?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
Anthony, you're invited. You're invited.
Will our passport work? That'll be another question. But Jay, the one thing that you keep coming back to is you mentioned leisure travel is what you're looking for to come back. You also mentioned Tulum, and to me, the reason why I was confused because I keep thinking business travel, but it sounds like it's really a leisure travel market. A lot of the other serviced apartment companies seem to be focused on that business traveler. Do you focus on that too? And what is the difference in your strategy there, looking for that target leisure market?
We do have business travelers, and I'll be honest, we got a little lucky. I focused and I wanted to solve a need of group travel and providing more space for families because I saw this as a fundamental problem. Personally, I felt that hotels had solved business travel. You guys are road warriors. I'm a road warrior. Yeah. You stay in a hotel. It's like you said, Anthony, you can't waste a second, right? You check in, you order a club sandwich at 10 o'clock at night, and it's you have Wi-Fi, you get a quick workout. So we focused on solving a real need with larger spaces in these leisure resort destinations. So, coming out of or being in the midst of COVID, we've actually, knock on wood, been pretty lucky, outperformed traditional hotels in this space. We didn't know COVID was going to hit, but we're focused on leisure and resort markets. Business travel will come back at some point. And where we had business travelers coming as a company is sending their employees, 2 or 3 of them are friends. They want to stay in a unit together. They have their own private room, their own private bathroom. They have a center place to work, which is actually a really advantage. It's a nice amenity. So when Brian Quinn comes down and we work together in Miami, we work from the living room. We have a nice space to work, and we can cook and get our things done.
Well, I think going forward in the next year or so, you're going to start eating hotel business travel lunch. I mean, you're just going to steal a lot of share. It just makes sense because you have that space, you have that cooperative space within the apartment.
I love that.
People, listen, it was all about the lobby, and I think it's still about the lobby in some hotels. But again, I think in the last 6 months, I am, and everybody hears it every single day. I'm done. I'm done with quarantine. I'm done. I'm traveling. I got to go.
You got to go.
I wear my mask. I got to go. I'm done. But a lot of people are getting used to it. A lot of people are getting used. My kids are going back to college. So basically I can travel again.
That's right.
And I think a lot of people are kind of the opposite. I think a lot of people I don't want to travel as much. I want to stay home, and I do love staying home. But I'm a road warrior, and I like traveling. I like experiencing other things. But I think a lot of people are going to like this type of travel. And to be perfectly honest with you, if I start staying at your places and I start really being comfortable, I'm probably going to become addicted to this kind of space because I don't want to see a lot of employees. I don't want to see a lot of people cleaning my room. I don't want to see a lot of people in the lobby. I don't want 100 restaurants and bars and stuff. I want quiet. I want to be in my space, and I still want to travel. So I think sometimes preparation and opportunity equals luck, and I think you just got real lucky.
And for every 10 stay, Anthony, we'll give you a free night. So we have a rewards program.
How about this? For every night, you give me 10 free nights. How's that?
All right, well, I think we got a deal.
If we come back on the show once a quarter.
All right, I love it. The negotiations are happening in real time here on No Vacancy Live, everyone.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is there are thousands of high-level executives out there right now. We're not talking about front desk clerks or supervisors. We're talking about high-level people that have worked for me, that I've worked for, that are real big, high, 6-figure people, and they're like, what the hell do I do now? I've been doing 15 years, 20 years in the business. Does the business accept me back? Does the business look different? And we called it months ago. As soon as Ari Sorensen laid everybody off, and then all these severance packages came down, I was like, never will the hotel industry look the same again. We'll be back. We'll be stronger than ever, but we won't be bigger than ever. So what do you tell that executive that wants a job with you? What positions are available? And I don't mean specific positions, but what kind of opportunities are available for people that are in the hotel business?
We're focused on growth, and so we mentioned Brian Quinn a lot, and he's getting a lot of shout outs here. We're growing our development team, so we just had 2 new folks join this past week. We had 2 the previous week. We're currently interviewing, so we see this as an opportunity. And the feedback that we're getting, Glenn, Anthony, is that people are looking for something fresh. Yes. They've worked at Marriott, they've worked at Hilton, they've worked at IHG, and it's become repetitive. And they're looking for what's next. Where's the industry going? And that's what we've provided. So, what we tell them is we'd love to hear from them as we grow the team. We're continuing to interview people.
So how has COVID stunted your growth or accelerated your growth based on your pro forma? So if you look at your pro forma now, you say you built it in January, and now you look at your pro forma. Are you exceeding expectations, or are you meeting them, or are you behind expectations?
Oh, without a doubt, COVID flipped everything upside down. Without a doubt. In March, I sent a note to the board, and we were tracking bookings We were tracking cancellations. We were tracking rates. And at the beginning of March, things were ticking up. Spring break, we were 90% occupied in Miami for spring break. And then March 11th is really the date that stands out in my mind. Wednesday, March 11th, when the president announced the travel ban to Europe and the World Health Organization announced that COVID was now a pandemic. And so we immediately went into contingency planning mode. I have a great team of executives and folks at Domio who really dug in. And like the rest of the hospitality and travel world, we were playing defense really for about 10 weeks. And it was tough. We did have to furlough people and let some people go, which is always a very, very tough thing. And how I would say, what it helped us accelerate was that in the early days, we had individual vacation rental units like the ones that I started with. We got out of that business and we're 100% focused on full buildings, new development, Class A, upscale, upper upscale. So it helped us in some ways really just hone in and laser on our core competency. And so we got out of that VR business and projections down about 50% from the beginning of the year. Our occupancy rates dropped down into the single digits and really in the worst, the tail end of March and early April. But that was really a 2-week kind of scary period. And then my commercial team, my revenue team, we really started outperforming. So in New Orleans, we did 40% occupancy when the market was doing 10% in April. Then in May, we did 60% when the market was still doing 10. We actually have a very good relationship with Airbnb, and Airbnb actually bought out our building in New Orleans. We partnered with them to provide housing to first responders and medical professionals. Like the rest of the world, it did hit us, but we've bounced back and we've stabilized and we're focused on growing on the management licensing and franchise.
So could Airbnb, as things get back to normal and other companies like Airbnb, could you see them just leasing your properties?
Airbnb doesn't want to be in the leasing business. We have relationships with them in conversations. They don't want to be in the leasing business. They could buy out rooms. So because Domio provides experience,
buy out rooms. Would they buy out your rooms like continually?
Maybe not continually, but in certain circumstances when they're looking for the best supply, the best types of full building experiences, Domio is at the top of their list.
So if we could back up a little bit, let's talk a little bit about inside baseball. Let's talk about why you go asset light and why all these hotels went asset light. And because management fees and licensing fees, you have to have more to make more, but you have less exposure. The world blows up, you close your doors and you move on. Like a lot of these management companies are doing. Like management companies are just closing left and right. Whereas when you own a real estate property, you have to deal with it. So talk a little bit about the inside baseball part of not buying the property, but doing the licensing and why somebody would do that. Because there's a lot of young entrepreneurs out there that understand the reason why.
That's an excellent question. And I got that question in the early days. Jay, why don't you buy the apartment at the time when I was leasing? And at the time, I could lease 10 2-bedrooms for the same amount of capital and money funds that I could buy a property. So I 10x my cash flow. So that was somewhat asset light. And then today, where we're managing and licensing, it's completely asset light. You're able to weather economic shocks. Higher returns on invested capital, higher valuations, higher profit margins, 80 to 90% profit margins. So that was really the driving force of moving to the asset light model. It's much lighter on capital. Again, higher returns, higher valuation multiples. Ultimately, yep.
Plus, you could adjust your portfolio as needed, or at least quicker. Because if you own a full building and a situation like this happens, you can't just shed those rooms. But if you have a year lease or something,
the C corps, which are asset light, have 8 times the number of keys rooms than the select service lodging REITs.
Wow! And my friend Grant Cardone thanks you for saying 10x.
All right. So I do want to go back to the question that I had up there from our friend Sean Worker. And of course, Sean Worker is my co-author on Adapters and the Gutsy Genius Thinkers book that we're doing. He wants to know, I can't find the question here because we've got a lot going on, but wants to know about the occupancy ADR compared to STR numbers in the hospitality industry. Thanks, Jeff, for finding that. And who's your comp set, if you would put it, if you have any idea?
Comp set. So, we look at other short-term rental properties. We look at hotels. We look at suites in the market. But today there really aren't a lot of other players that are doing what Domio is doing. There is AKA, who we talked about earlier. Yep. There is Sonder. But again, 99% of the short-term rental market globally is managed by amateurs. So there's really a lot of white space and opportunity.
There is. Don't give it away too much because you're going to get a whole lot more competition. One of the other companies I like out there is Y Hotel. Are you familiar with those folks? Now, their model's a little bit different because they go into buildings that are just opening. And what's really cool about them, and Jay, I'm not saying this for you, I'm saying this for the viewers and the listeners out there. What's really cool about them is that they kind of act as that in between. Before the building gets all of the leases sold, they can put people in there temporarily. And they've also found that a lot of people coming in temporarily are relocating and wind up just buying that unit from the building's real estate firm, which is very interesting. So have you thought about doing anything on a temporary basis as well going forward, perhaps?
I had a call with Y Hotel's CEO during COVID. And I've stayed in touch with a number of folks and my peers in the industry to help each other out. I think he has a good business. It's not really what we're going for. We're doing full buildings, long-term agreements, right. 10, 20-year agreements. Personally, I would get a little tired having to open up a building and then it opens and then go find a new building.
Oh, totally.
So different model, but I think it works for them. So we'll wait and see how that model plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think your growth prospects are now, and how has COVID changed your thought on today's growth prospects as opposed to back in February?
People are doing deals now. Owners, developers they're meeting. We're trading paper. We have licensing agreements out. We have management agreements out. We've signed management agreements. So deals are happening, and they're just taking a little bit more time right now. But our 5-year plan is to really have 40,000 keys around the world.
So when you say, let's talk about the management agreement. Okay. So they get a central reservation system, they get revenue management, they get cleaning services, they get food. Tell me what you get as a management. If I develop a building and I give it to you, I sign a deal with you. Tell me what I get. And are your systems proprietary or are you off the shelf systems? So talk me through that.
Yeah, so you get Domio's brand standards, you get our design, you get our booking channel, and you get our technology. And so our guest-facing technology in the Domio app is proprietary, keyless entry, self-check-in and checkout. And we were really working on this before COVID, and there's really been a focus of a lot of these hospitality companies. So we launched the apartment hotel industry's first app that has these features, early check-in, late checkout, all through the app. So what we're hearing is, from the owners, is that they're hearing a lot of positive things about Domio, about our design, about the brand, about the economics that they can generate, the alpha that they can generate, having us manage and having the Domio brand on their buildings.
Are there any guarantees when you take over these buildings? Like if you sign a license agreement and you're guaranteeing them X amount of occupancy and average rates, how does that work?
We don't provide guarantees on licensing. On management, there could be some NOI guarantee. That's not what we lead with. We would give them the option to terminate the contract if we're not performing. So we're staying away from that. We don't want to have too many guarantees. There was a company based in India that was providing a lot of those that we know. It starts with an O and ends with an O, and I think that they ran into some challenges. So we're being really thoughtful about how we partner with the owners. And ultimately giving them, the ability to get out if we're not doing what we said we're going to do.
Without naming names, talk about a deal that you really wanted to sign, but the owner was just being unrealistic.
So really the past few years, on the leasing side in New York, there were deals that got hot and heavy. And really competitors were bidding up the lease prices. And so we walked away. People were just asking for really high rental rates, and we underwrote them in our model. They didn't make sense. We looked at the ADRs, nightly rates, and RevPARs, and we said, this isn't a sustainable business model. And that was really the driving force to move to management licensing and franchising. This year we've been focused on these deals. So we haven't lost any. Right now, it's COVID in some ways has been a positive for us, is that there's not a lot of competition in the apartment hotel space. So we're actively in these conversations. I'll let you know the next time I'm on the show. If there's a deal that we lose, we're gonna blame it on Quinn. And
so one of the things that I'm learning about you is you have a very matter of fact kind of way about you. You're going through COVID. You came out of a really prestigious business school. You learned would imagine that you were in a lot of deals and really learned and saw a lot of big things happening during your education. So you've learned to keep your emotions at bay. During this process, you seem to have a really good level head. Are you convinced more now because of COVID that the way you went into this business is definitely going to be long-term and all the metrics are even going to sustain through COVID? That's a kind of a long-winded question, but you get the sense of what I'm saying.
It's a great, it's a great question. I appreciate that. I do view the world with I hope to think a level head and being rational and focusing on business fundamentals and unit economics. I do think it's helped us, and it's given us an advantage of when we started in New York City, our access to investors, how we think about building the business, our performance to date, how we've built the team, how we've attracted really all-star talent. We've had employees who've joined who've said, my banking background, my co-founder's banking backgrounds were one of the reasons that they joined, is that we weren't just out there trying to create a company without a business reason. So, every day we stay positive. We're focused on executing, and time will tell. But it feels good. There were some dark days during COVID. It was painful for us. It was painful for everyone. And there's still some fires that people are battling. And ultimately we'll see how the cases continue to play out. Hopefully we get this thing under control and we find a vaccine. But we have a really great team, and it's definitely not me who's achieved these things. It's our team, it's our people. So I really want to give credit to the people that we have around us, or that we have at Domio, and past, present, that have helped us navigate this unprecedented time.
Do you think, it's a basic question, do you think your ability to look at numbers and understand the numbers and not have your emotions make your decisions, has that been a competitive advantage?
I think there's definitely a benefit there, for sure, and that we're looking at real numbers. Our goal is to get to profitability. So especially in an environment like this, investors appreciate that. Where everyone was focused on growth, top line growth, and we work sort of numbers, profit went out the window. But when you have something like the Great Recession, or you have COVID, things come back down to earth, and what is the business case for?
Right. And the reason I'm asking because we've both been in boardrooms with that person that's losing his mind about just enthusiasm and look at this and look at that. And when you ask them to, what's your P&L look like, what's your performer look like, what do the numbers look like when you put these things above, on top of it, you lay a recession on, you lay whatever it is on, what does that look like? Well, that's not going to happen. I mean, we've all been in those boardrooms, and it seems like if I'm in the room with you and I'm putting money into a building, I'm going to feel real confident because you're making decisions based on numbers and you have several different models. Now, just not to talk about WeWorks, but I was there I'd say not in the beginning stages of WeWorks, but when everything was really at the height and everybody was, we were going to rename the United States of America WeWorks.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, what happened? As an outsider,
exuberance, irrational exuberance, and Adam Newman is an incredible salesperson. I think he had a great vision, and WeWork is a great product. In my mind, we had spaces early on before we had our own headquarters in WeWork space. So I think the value proposition is there. But when you have that exuberance, and then you have investors on the other side who you combine that and you sort of get out over your skis, the fundamentals just didn't make sense, especially on valuation. Pre-IPO, I'm a former investment banker. I was reviewing the materials when WeWork was getting ready to go public, and the banks had a range on valuation from 50, and this is JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, 50 billion to 100 billion. WeWork today is about 2 billion, and they've raised over 10 billion. So there was something that ultimately didn't work out. I had a front row seat to that. We had a front row seat to that. So absolutely not.
Are they still in business? Is it still viable? I haven't really paid attention to it.
The last I saw is that they will get to profitability in 2021 is what I've seen.
Okay, so but they're not on the same trajectory as they were.
No.
Okay, so our friend Glenn said that he didn't really like interviewing you, so he left. No.
Well, he's not invited to Tulum, so Anthony, you can come stay in Tulum.
I put in my private chat. Give me your cell number. So give me your cell number so we can stay in touch.
Perfect.
Our producer is here. So Jeff, what's up?
I was just looking for the invite. I didn't leave the show, so.
Okay.
Glenn's not invited. You, me, and Anthony. Okay.
Perfect.
So Jay, thank you so much for being here. Please, shameless plug, as my friend Glenn would say. Where can people find you? If people are looking for work, where can they apply? So this is your moment for a shameless plug.
StayDomio.com. You can look us up. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'll respond to you. We're looking for great people, great talent. We know it's tough out there, so we'll do what we can. But and if you're looking for more space, more affordable, in great resort leisure destinations, StayDomio.com.
Well, thank you very much. And, I truly appreciate, I only saw your side of the business, meaning the finance side of the business, when I worked for Tishman. And if you're in the business, Tishman, and how intense they are. And I got the greatest education of my life working for Tishman. Glenn Houseman.
You want to talk intense? Talk about losing your internet and not getting to hear the conversation. That was intense.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Let me bring you up to speed to the Anthony and Jay show. You're no longer needed. And so.
All right. Thanks.
So I got a real understanding that emotion comes out of the room real quick when you're at that level, because being an operator, being a guest advocate, an employee advocate, I understand how to run a hotel. I learned how to turn around hotels, and that's been my passion. So there's a lot of emotion in that. There's a lot of rah-rah. My teams are together. You're dealing with the union, and you're trying to make them happy. You're doing everything you can. And it's just really every day you're going to the Super Bowl every day when you're turning around hotels, especially in New York, and then going in and then trying to do cash flows for a $1 billion property, sitting there and understanding when interest rates go up and down, your day depends on that interest rate, right? The interest rate goes up, bad day. Interest rate goes down, good day. And so I really learned to sit in a room and really show almost no emotion. And that really got me clearer, and that really got me to make decisions clearer. and then not really from my emotion. So talking to you and you building this company, I really understand that is so important. And then you can do the rah-rah. Then you can build a standard. Then you can bring in great hospitality people. But at the end of the day, if the concrete isn't strong, you're screwed.
That's right. That's
Hey,
right.
Jay, I got a question for you. I don't know if you guys addressed it while I was gone for a minute, but somebody was asking about designers. And I was curious, do you have in-house designers? You partner with outside firms? And the question was, how could people learn more about you to maybe get on your list of approved designers if that's an option?
Yeah, so we're vertically integrated. We have our own in-house designers.
Awesome.
But we're happy to meet with other folks out there in the industry. We're open to new ideas, new opportunities. So you can shoot me an email, jay@staydomio.com, and I'll connect you with the team.
So being a young, successful entrepreneur that's worked really, really hard in school, worked really, really hard in business, what is the greatest lesson you have learned from someone, whether it be your parents, whether it be somebody in business school? What's the one thing that every once in a while that just pops in your head and that just kind of that sparks you?
There's a lot. I would say perseverance is to persevere and to push through when the going gets tough. And whether times are good or times are bad, stick with it, stay positive, and push through. That's ultimately, because it's not easy. You're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have COVID, you're gonna have the Great Recession. So you never know what the world's gonna throw at you. But push through. Be confident and have an unwavering belief in your vision, in yourself. Obviously get feedback from the people around you. But if you believe in something, you're passionate about it, push through no matter what.
But when you say unwavering belief, that is really critical. I know this is the end of the show, but I really want to stay here for a second.
Fine.
A lot of people are making jumps and shifts, and everybody's shifting. Unwavering belief in something and good economics and good foundation are two different things, right? So, or three different things. So I talk about your leverage index in the book I'm writing, and the leverage index of when you decided to go into Domio, your leverage index was pretty good because of your financial background, because you did one apartment, then you did two apartments, and then you started bringing people in. And so if you would have got your first apartment and you would have went to your partners and said, hey, we're going to open up Domio, right? Your leverage index isn't that great, right? At what point, being your leverage index, meaning you're not 100%, but you're in really good shape, there's got to be a point where you make the leap, right? But there's too many people, and what I'm trying to show through this leverage index, and I'm writing an article right now about it in Lodging Magazine, about if you're a 6 on your leverage index, you may have gone too soon. If you're a 10, you may have gone too late, right? Meaning there's got to be things in that you're prepared for. Too many people believe in themselves, believe in their idea. But I'm going to hold you accountable for you did it the right way, because you had a really serious background and knowledge and financing. You have people behind you, around you. And so a lot of people just take that leap and crash. And I really want to show people that there are some leaps that are worth taking, and there's some leaps that you got to wait a minute. It's not quite baked. You want to talk through that a little bit and kind of your mindset?
Yeah, that was by design. So you mentioned having good people, smart people around me. That wasn't always the case. My mom was a secretary. My sister's single mom. My sisters were waitresses, so I wasn't really exposed to the finance community. I didn't grow up with these advantages. But I had a focus and I had a belief in myself that I could grow and ultimately learn and study other successful people. So that's what I did. What I would say is that a lot of people, Anthony and Glenn, they're looking out at the outside world. There's so many things going on. There's so many opportunities. You make money over here. You can do this. You can do that. And I read an article, and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, Bill Gates' mother asked both of them what contributed to their massive success. And they both wrote down the same word, and that's focus.
Mhm.
So having an unwavering belief, having a focus on one thing or two things allows you to build that momentum and that confidence towards your idea, so that you can actually make progress day in and day out. And so that's what I'd say is focus.
You know what? I think that is the greatest thing I've heard in a long time. That is the word that I have to slap myself in the head sometimes, because I work on so many things. I'm like, focus. What do you want? Like, I've been writing a book for 7 years, right? I'm finally focused on it because of COVID. And it's actually a good time because I've really learned a lot during COVID about myself and business and everything else. But I think that that's a really good point. And Randy Zuckerberg wrote a book called You Can Only Focus on Three Things. I don't know exactly the name of the book. And it's true. If you're raising a family and you have a business and you're worried about your health, those are three things that you should stay focused on.
Yep.
If now all of a sudden you're going to start doing this and that and the other thing, and I think focus, and now again, that comes back to, if you're focused on this one thing and you're full born at one thing, you have to have a real belief and a real understanding when things go wrong. You know, we got to take the emotion out of your decision-making process.
Yep.
You know, I love what I do, but I've learned to take the emotion out of what I do, even though I'm an emotional guy. And I think that what I've learned in this hour with you is that you're incredibly bright but focused person. And this, I would not bet against you. And if Domio, for some reason, you say, hey, I'm going to sell this and move on, the world's going to know your name in a really, really big way, just simply because of your focus. So I'm glad you said that. And I hope somebody learned something, especially a young person coming out of school and wants to take over the world. You don't take over the world in one day.
That's right. Day in and day out, and years and years and years of.
And when people aren't watching, and when people aren't watching you, when people aren't seeing the hard work, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, taking that red eye, you know, having those hard conversations.
Sundays.
Yeah, Saturdays and Sundays. And you know, and someone once said to me something, and I was like, well, I don't want to do that. And they're like, well, then you won't get that. I was like, well, I don't want that. Like, well, but you should get that. I was like, but I don't want it. And they said, why? Because I don't want to work Saturdays and Sundays. Because I had 3 little kids and I didn't want to work Saturdays and Sundays, and I did it. I would do my show.
You wanted something else, and family was more, you know, was more.
Right. And at that point in my life, if I was 25, 26, 27, 30, coming out of school, I'd be like, okay, you know, I know totally. Jay, sign me up, throw me in, I'm ready. But at that point, you know, there's points in your career. Now my kids are about to graduate college. Things are different. Then you know what? Maybe I could work 20 hours a day again, 7 days a week. Maybe I'm ready for that. So you've got to know what you want, you know. And to me, the success, the goal isn't money, and the goal isn't prestige. The goal is happiness.
Yep.
And I want to just be happy. And that's what people, when they make that leap, if that makes them happy, then do it. But if you're doing it for prestige and for money, you're making the wrong decision.
The process. The process is really important too, and focusing on the journey.
Right. I mean, how exciting is it? I think Glenn came back, by the way, but we're going to get to him in a second.
Yeah,
Glenn,
I doubt that.
with you. See, you shouldn't leave me alone, Glenn. I just keep going.
I know. Well, it's hard enough when you're here too.
I mean, isn't it exciting to take a person that's been in the game for so long, bring him to your company, and see kind of a guy that's been doing this 15, 20 years work for you, and see his eye or her eyes light up again, saying, wow, this is really exciting again, and kind of shake off the dust?
Oh, it's incredible, and it energizes me to see these industry veterans who've been doing this for years and for decades. And you know, I'm honored and humbled that you know they would join us. So you know, people again are the core of the business. They're the core of everything that we do, whether it's your team, your employees, or your customers. So you got to take care of them. You got to look out for really great people who you want to work with on a daily basis. But yeah, it's absolutely inspirational. I'm learning from them. You know, I'm imparting what I've learned. So you know, we really focus and look at this as a team effort. But yeah, the people that we've had join are really great.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on all of the great success that you've been having, and I wish you lots of luck getting those 40,000 additional rooms over the next couple of years. But with guys like Brian Quinn on the team,
Brian,
I know you will achieve that for sure. I heard you already did the shameless plugs, but if not, you know, you can do it again right now, or just tell us how to find you.
Do it again,
yeah.
Judge.
Come find us at saydomio.com. If you're looking to travel, if you're looking to get out of your house, you're tired of being quarantined, Tulum, Miami, Chicago, Nashville. We'll be in Puerto Rico soon. We have deals in Denver and in Oklahoma City, really all around the country, Toronto, Mexico, Cancun.
All right, excellent. And of course,
I have
one last question here. Will you consider a commission program to attract luxury leisure travel advisor clients?
We'd be happy to take a look. We'd be happy to take a look. Shoot me an email, jay@saydomio.com, and we'll consider it.
So,
cool.
Jay, you spent some time in Nashville. You said my favorite city. So you spent some time in Nashville?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Have you been to Tootsie's?
I have been to Tootsie's.
Have you been to Peg Leg Porker?
Tell me Tootsie's isn't the greatest bar in this country.
Man, it's great. It's great. Nashville is really a success story over the last 5 years. My first time going there, personally, people from Nashville, please forgive me. I thought it was going to be cowboys and kind of honky tonk, and I went, and it was booming, cranes in the air. People from LA, from New York, some of my former colleagues from Blackstone were there, and so I was, wow, there's people from New York real estate doing deals, and then just the culture and the people are incredibly nice. I still have friends in Nashville. It's really a great city, great town, and they did a good job of transitioning from just country music to being a music hub. So that's been very positive for Nashville.
It's one of my favorite cities, and when I go to Tootsie's, I'm usually by myself. I sit in the corner, and I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be recognized. I just want to listen to music. And every once in a while, you get like a couple come over to you and go, "Can we buy you a drink?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good." And then all of a sudden, a beer comes, and then I buy them a beer, and then they buy me a beer, and we don't really talk, but it's just this weird. If you're sitting at a table, it's almost this Southern hospitality.
Right.
If you're sitting at a table that they're at, they can't not buy you a drink.
Right.
And then, being a guy in the hotel business, I can't not reciprocate. So you quietly just buy them drink. I just absolutely love Tootsie's. It's my favorite place on earth to have a beer. I used to love the Oak Room at the Plaza, but that's been closed for years. Now I sit there, and the music and the bands at Tootsie's. Listen, if you go to Nashville and you don't go to Tootsie's, you haven't seen Nashville.
And if you haven't gone to Peg Leg Porker, you haven't eaten barbecue in Nashville. So go check that one out as well. All right, Jay, thank you so much for being here. What a fun conversation this has been, So
Glenn,
thank you.
Anthony, it's been great. It's been awesome.
I really appreciate it. We'll see you again, hopefully again soon, and lots of good luck to you. What a great company. Man.
Good guy.
Yeah, what an interesting business that is. And
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and it really shows the entrepreneurial spirit of somebody, right? He started really small and then took that idea and let it build, and now he's got this whole company behind
it. What I like about Jay, and I really, really enjoyed talking to him, and he said at the end, I'm so glad he said it. He was like, I didn't come from money. I didn't come from 27 uncles and aunts saying, hey, you got to invest here. Like, he didn't come from that, right? He came from just a regular upbringing, and he learned, and he put himself in the position of making his education, because I'm sure he did well in high school. He worked really hard. He got into a good business school, and then he was working for Blackstone. And Blackstones make diamonds, and they don't make just diamonds, financially. They make diamonds because, the only thing that can, sharpen a diamond is another diamond. Those guys at Blackstone are so competitive and so intelligent so he was in a machine of Blackstone. Then he pops himself out as a creator, and it just and as you can see, what happens when I talk to a numbers guy and a finance guy, I get all geeky again.
Oh, I know, just like the Schindler conversation from last Thursday, right?
And I'm glad that people see that side of me, because I literally love it, and I love just the hard work and pain that he has to go through to build something like this, and not build it on just emotion. And I think this will work, and I want this to work. But these are the metrics, and he is going to be one of those guys. that is right up there with the, as far as I'm concerned, the Bezos and those kind of guys. He's going to hit something that's going to be just extraordinary. You can just tell he's got that mindset and that work ethic.
Taking that focus and turning it into that passion, which you say is everything. And now that's what it's all about, that laser focus, having a great idea and dedicating all of your faculties to it, right?
Absolutely. So,
right.
How are you, my brother?
All right, I'm doing
today, 2:00.
Yeah, 2:00, Hotel Reboot. Come check it out. We're going to help you recharge your F&B business. That's right. We're calling it Refuel. Sign up right now at hotelreboot.com. We've got Steve Palmer of the Indigo Road Hospitality, a company highly focused on food and beverage in the hospitality industry. Jeff Wiega-Poland of Forbes Travel Guide. He's an SVP over there. He's going to help teach us. Belinda Chang, food and beverage maven. She's doing great programs that are helping people earn more money as well. And of course, Rick Moransek of JCJ Architecture, which is helping redesign and reinvent properties out there. And then Hospitality Success, you got an event tomorrow at 3, correct?
Tomorrow's Thursday, then tomorrow at 3:00. I better start focusing on that. No, last week I tell you, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My partner, Jeremy, did an amazing job. Her assistant, Mike, did an amazing job. Dave, our producer, really helped us out, and Jeff helped us out, and Tamara and Denny, and just we had such a great bunch of people helping us out. And I just showed up, and it was really great. And I didn't realize how much I loved really going back and really learning, not learning, but kind of teaching what my mindset was. So as everybody knows, this is the No Vacancy Live podcast.
That's right.
See us on LinkedIn. You can see us on Facebook, but you can also see us on our podcast. So
That's right.
Go anywhere you find podcasts. And when you are looking for our podcast, you're going to look for Checking In with Anthony and Glenn. So if you're looking for our podcast, which is the exact same as No Vacancy Live, please look for Checking In with Anthony and Glenn. And we are going to change that name very soon.
Yeah.
But right now, everything we do is the same. But if you're looking for the podcast, it's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn. If you're looking for us live, it's
Right.
No Vacancy Live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and anywhere you want to be.
Thank you for all that. Like Richard Dreyfuss said, and better about Bob, or whatever that movie was. Baby
I bet
steps.
Richard
Baby
Dreyfuss said it
steps.
better.
What's that?
Richard Dreyfuss said it better, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Baby steps. That's what we're doing. We're making it, but we keep moving forward. We keep making the changes to help educate, empower, and hopefully entertain all of you guys. All right, if you can't make Hotel Reboot today at 2, it will be available on demand afterwards. So check us out at hotelreboot.com. Yeah, Anthony?
If you have any ideas for making the show better, please let us know. Please go on, review us on our podcast, on Facebook, wherever we are. Let us know what we're doing good, what we're doing bad. We want to improve every single day. We just looked at the numbers this morning. Thank you. The numbers look really good, really solid. For this little show that we do every day, we've gotten some great numbers. So thank you very much for liking it. And thanks for Jay, guests like Jay, who really make it interesting. I learned something. Hopefully our audience did. So take us out, my brother.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see those of you who join us at Hotel Reboot in just about 45 minutes. And remember, you got one life, so blaze on and